So in this video, we are going to be wrapping up the payment process, and I'm going to show you some of the changes I've made because there were some issues with getting the payment correctly done. So what I've done is essentially I've added the code in like this. So the changes are basically we're creating a card or payment method here. We're providing in the card for the ID, and then we're providing in the card element, and we are then logging out errors. We are later on going to be adding in some notifications, and we are checking out the user via a checkout method in here that I have created. So the reason why I'm showing this now is just to make sure that we don't get into any big issues. So I'm gonna just close these down a bit. And this is the card manager, so we're in the wrong file. So let's go into the checkout.php. In here we have this checkout function. And as you can see, we have this dispatch submit payment. This is what we're going to be working on in the next video. We are getting the user. If the user doesn't exist, we're creating a Stripe customer, which means that inside the table here, we then have this Stripe ID with the customer. We are then going in and saying add payment method via the payment method ID, which we're getting from payment method in here. And then we are charging the user, specifying the total cost, giving a return URL, and in this case I've just put it for success equal to the home page. We're going to be creating an orders page later on, but for now I'm just going to leave it like that. So now that we know that the user has successfully been charged, let's go ahead and clear the card. And once that's done, let's actually go ahead and make sure we take a look at our orders table. So in the orders table, we have to specify the order ID, email, use ID, and then the total price and the status. So let's go ahead and say in the user model, we have no relationship to orders. Let's create a function here called orders, and you can have many orders, and that's where we have it. So we just want to make sure we have this order class here. So with that sorted, what we can do now is we can say user orders create. So by doing this, we are associating the user ID in here. And then we want to pass in the total value of the order. We want to pass in the user's address ID, and that's obviously something we get from addresses. So what we want to do in here is make sure that in order.php we have a relationship to the address, which we do. So what we can do in here is then say we want to specify that the order associate we can actually do this. I think it depends. Some people find this cleaner this way. So I'm going to put the address ID basically in here. And just making sure that we have, so we have this address form. Where we have all of these details here. So what we want to make sure is that we have this address created somewhere. So we're adding the address here. And we have the ability to get the correct address in checkout the PHP. And we have this address one here where we don't have a wire model attached. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say wire model address. Perfect. So let's go into our checkout the PHP and create an address. All right. So with that sorted now, we can go back in here and we can just say this address, making sure that in here, the value is the ID of the address. And then outside of that, what we also want to do is we want to make sure that we still want to get the order ID later on. So what we want to make sure of now is that we have the total passed in, the email address we need to pass in as well, and then that should be everything. So let's go ahead and make sure we have the email address passed in. And as you can see, when we mount it, we specify the email. So with that sorted, let's go ahead and say order ID. For now, we're just going to do this temporarily. This is not the full solution. And then get the order UUID and make sure inside the order model that when we create the order that we have a public static function, sorry, called booted. And in here we want to say order status as pending. And we also want to have order ID set to a specific UUID using the UUID help function. And just delete those. So let's go ahead and create an order. So I'm gonna go down here, I'm gonna click on this, gonna select it. Wire Navigate is having some issues with this. Maybe we don't want to use that for now. Want to make sure I'm actually logged in as well. And let's go in now to the checkout page. I'm gonna just enter my name, the random card details that Stripe provides to fake an ID. I'm gonna click pay, and let's see if we get any errors. And we need to return, obviously, in here. So let's go back into the order method here. Into the user method, sorry. Let's make sure we return it. So while we do that, let's go ahead and look in the payments function here. And we will keep an eye out for that. So let's refresh the page. Make sure we have something selected here. The reason why this is giving an error, let's just go ahead and fix that now, is because this is going to the wrong place. So let's go back into our product card. Let's make sure that this link goes to product.show. Or as we call it, products.show. Select the product, click checkout, put in some random details. And let's see what happens. We're getting an issue of a duplicate key in here, so that is because we're passing in let's make sure we just empty this whole table. Let's try again. And let's see what happens now. So we're refreshing. Let's go back into the orders table. We have the total here. The address ID we didn't get specified, so let's go back in and check what's going on in here. So inside the mounting, inside here we may need to actually say ymodel.live. So let's try again. So let's create another order. And why navigate seems to be having some issues. So maybe we won't use that for this part of the application. Let's try to see if this works. It's refreshing. And it isn't working. Maybe it's because we need to specify. Yeah, it's probably because we need to specify address ID in here. So let's go ahead and try again. Hopefully this is going to be the last attempt. No, and it's still not working. So let's just check here. So we have the address ID. We have this checkout function here. We are saying ymodel.live for the address inside the checkout one here. I think we may have to leave that to the next video, but if you go ahead into Stripe, you can then see that we now created a few successful payments. So as you can see, we have paid for this product and it's all been successful. So that's all for this video. And over the next few videos, we're going to be adding the ability to provide notifications. And we're also going to give a confirmation of the order page when you're paid. And lastly, we are going to potentially do some bug fixes later on as well. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next.